Hey everyone, today we're looking at the 9.9 meta and what changed this patch. Remember, there are a lot of good champions at the moment, but when it comes to solo queue, some have a pretty good advantage, right? And that's what this video is for. Fun fact as well, about half of the junglers in the top 10 are tanks now. So I guess, right, really did force a bit of the tank meta back into the game. As always though, timestamps are listed in the description and normally somewhere in the comments as well. If you use that, consider throwing a like on the video, but for now, let's head into our AD carries. The AD carry role is in the best spot it has been for seasons, in my opinion. Every single champion has at least one viable build that you could run. Now saying that, Jinx is a cut above the rest for now, played more every single patch and winning more every time as well, and that doesn't really add up, or it's not supposed to. At the moment, she has insanely high damage output, really easy as well. You're just going to sit there and rocket form and right click, and one reset and the fight is basically over because of the move speed and the attack speed. She'll just clean up the rest of it. You can also do that from kind of one item, but definitely two items. With your Runins, you'll have really good wave clear and you'll shred entire team. That is really mid game, right? That's when she becomes like ultra powerful, and guess when most games end? Yeah, mid game. So this is why she is so good. First runner-up today, we're looking at Vayne, who is also insane at two items, but she is shorter range, a bit more risky, and a much worse lane fate. This is the one point about Vayne: you can punish her in lane and set her too far behind and then kind of end the game, whereas with a Jinx, for example, you can't because she's much higher range. Once you pick up that rage bait though, it completely turns the game on its head though. Even if you're behind, you can farm your shutdowns and get back into it. This is one of the things with this season especially. Even if you do get behind and get a few kills, if you get those shutdowns, you massively get back into the game. She's very hard to lock down with the stealth, even more tumbles now as well from that change. Amazing like 1v1 in a duelist and stuff, and unreal late game potential. I think she has the highest DPS, so damage, out of any AD carry. Second runner-up, I want to look at Kai'Sa today. And by the way, try not to play her into Jinx because that feels really, really bad. But her early game is much stronger than others now. Kai'Sa and Vayne are similar champions in how they play and stuff, but Kai'Sa is just much better early and can get a lot more kills in the lane. If you get ahead, you're going to be one major issue for the entire rest of the game, but you really need to get to your three items. That is when you take over. If you look at Kai'Sa versus like other champions, her damage is still really high, but it's not going to be as high because she's a lot safer. She has her stealth, she has her ultimate as well. She's just a bit hard to play because of the short range in team fights. Last up, honorable mention, I want to look at Draven today. He is like lane kingdom, right? Nobody can really match up to him at all. If you try to fight him, you're probably going to lose, and one mistake against him the game can kind of get out of control because of his passive. He is still definitely the best AD carry to one trick, partly because of that as well. You don't need your support that much to climb. You can go nuts yourself anyway in the lane phase, do most of the damage, and then cash in on that passive. You're still going to be scaling okay, partly because if you do get a kill, it's not just 300 gold, it's 300 plus whatever was in your passive, and then you have nutty burst damage, and you're very hard to play against. Not many champions can find that easily. You have to play it very well, and you're always afraid that if he does cash in, he'll come back with an extra BF sword or something and really ram that up your backside. Let's move into our mid lane. Again, lots of choice at the moment, which is really cool, but the best one so far has been Ahri, who's one of those kind of champions that comes in and out of the meta based on if she's getting another skin or how the rest of the meta is. Now she's got one of the highest win rate and play rates though out of any mid lane champion, and there are two really good builds. You can go full damage assassin or the GLP and the glacial augment. I think glacial is easier to play with the slows. You go your GLP and your twin shadows and you just run at people, you slow them and you hit your charm. I think Ludens is more hard carry though, if that makes sense. Like you line a charm and you absolutely obliterate somebody, but kind of overkill. She is super safe and there are no real bad matchups at the moment, which is really good. A million skins to choose from as well, which is obviously great. Crowd control with the charm, wave clear, healing, burst, catch potential. She kind of does everything really well. Just below her, I think Lux is kind of landing here at the moment. She's crazy good right now as well. Most of the time we go barrier, and it's really hard to shut her down in a game. You have really high range with everything that you're going to do. You have decent poke and wave clear from that range, but you can like one-shot people at two items and have more of a utility side as well. You're not just damage. There are carry picks in every lane, basically. Top lane, bot lane as well, sometimes in the jungle. So you have your shield to keep them alive, which is great, and it actually gets really big with some AP as well. But then you've got your bind to kind of catch people and keep people away. Your E can even slow, so it's not just about blowing somebody up. Obviously, you do blow people up, and from very far away, and I think this kind of shows it. So people buy Medjai's in about 10% of games with Lux, and it has a 70% win rate. Obviously, they're ahead when they buy it, but I don't think any other champion can buy it and make it work so often. Second runner-up, we're going to look at Zed, and he was nerfed, so he's a bit more of a risk now, but he still seems to get fed whenever I see him, and he's so dangerous with a lead. Ultimate Hunter has been getting a few buffs recently as well, so that is definitely going to help, but it's mostly lane phase pressure into a really good mid game. You're going to be able to destroy people if you get a lead. You just absolutely nuke people down. It's not just the one person either, but then you've got some decent wave clear and poke combined. Good roaming. You can side lane a bit more mid to late game. Now they added that change in as well, so it doesn't just limit him to killing people. He can actually do side lane as well. Last up for the mid lane, honorable mention, Neeko is now the real lane phase queen. Most sites have her over a 60% win rate pre 15 minutes, so basically she dumps us really hard if she gets ahead. I think she's really underrated at the moment. You have really good poke from her Q, her E lasts forever, it's actually insane, and you can set up your whole combo or a gank from your jungler. It's sort of like when Twisted Fate is in the game, you're probably going to camp to mid lane because it's so easy to gank for him, like with his gold card, right? Same thing with Neeko really, but amazing damage and jukes as well, and all super easy as long as you hit that E. You can run the Luden's build by the way as well. It's glass cannon, it's like full damage, it's really strong, but in my opinion GLP is going to be a little bit better and easier to play. Let's move into the jungle, and as we said earlier, there are a lot of tanks around right now, and the best one is probably going to be Amumu. What a world we live in where Amumu is genuinely the best jungler right now, even at higher ranks, and this is a lot of different things together. So first off, buffs to him, right? More passive true damage, a lower cooldown on his Q, and follows them if they dash after it attaches. All three of those things have really helped him. Then we've also had buffs to Cinderhulk to make it burn a bit better if you go the tank build, and the crab change as well. Moving that to 315 means that he gets level 3, and he can fight for it much easier if he wants to. He doesn't actually have to fight for it either, but early is his worst phase, and that's when you're going to really get set far behind if you do, right? But that's not as bad this patch, which means that he does get his items a bit easier and gets to his crazy team fight, which is exactly why you pick Amumu. If you'd rather play carry, the best one for that probably at the moment is Hecarim, who is still amazing because the crab change isn't too bad for him. It means he can get level 3, and that's really good for him anyway, having one of every skill. Still really good early to mid game as well. Did get nerfed, but he does do a lot of damage and heals for a ton, and it's kind of like a new way to play him. So the new way is if you're better at him, you can take Smite and Ignite instead of Ghost and become more of a duelist. Less about the charge damage, which was nerfed anyway, and more about the dueling after you charge in with Conqueror and Q spam and Red Smite. Second runner-up today is going to be Kayn, who also loves the crab change because his early is bollocks. But if you get transformed, you get 2 items, you're so much stronger. Both blue and red are really solid at the moment. So blue Kayn to start with, buffed to have an 8-second cooldown on his E now, so he can one-shot people, but he actually gets out after his ultimate as well. You use your E to get into a fight, you one-shot somebody, you ultimate, and your E is actually probably going to be available when you come out of that again, so you actually survive afterwards, which is huge. Red Kayn is all about this Conqueror synergy though. Like, it gives you more heals as well, a huge front line, good damage, but more crowd control, which can help him scale or work in a team with lots of damage already. Last up, honorable mention, must Yi for me is if you're facing a lot of tanks, Yi can be pretty good to shred through everybody, and obviously it's very easy, you just right click. Still the best lower ranked jungler at the moment, probably because a mix of it easy and just insane late game, and lower ranked games go later by the way. You get 3 items with your wit's end, the game is basically over at that point because you have so much damage and you become very hard to kill. Top lane also had a bit of a shake-up, just mainly because Darius is now back to the king of the lane phase. He was buffed to give him 15% healing per champion hit now and more damage, which turned him into a monster early game. It is so much harder to fight him now. It is easier to play him in the lane, I think, actually, as well, and I really recommend going Trinity Force for the damage and snowball potential, which means you won't fall off as hard. You can go Black Cleaver, you can go tank afterwards, but if you're going to do that, I just feel like you should pick another champion because Darius really wants to carry himself. The idea is really to get a big lead early game, right? Crush your top lane opponent, 1v2 if you have to, and then start to run around and nuke everybody else as well, and that is why you pick Darius. So first runner-up, Riven is still really strong, good versus carry and tank matchups because you can adapt your build, but most of the time you're rushing a cleaver into Death Dance and Guardian Angel. If she gets ahead early, through a gank or just her being the better player, either way, you're probably going to have a really hard game because of how well she does scale with items. Her team fight is amazing, she's very high damage, she can burst with her full combo, and a good Riven really does show. She is getting nerfed next patch though, so this might be the last one where she's going to be amazing, and if you do play Riven, you might want to abuse it while you can. Next one is a bit different, but I think Urgot is so underrated in my opinion. His mid game is almost unstoppable. He stops taking damage and he does so much himself. He stacks a lot of health, which really helps, but he has a lot of healing from Death Dance and AD as well. He's naturally tanky as a champion, and that's also where his W has no cooldown anymore. I think a lot of people don't really understand just how much damage he can do once he reaches like 2 items into the game, and I think he can carry harder than a lot of other top laners at the moment. Conqueror is really good for the added healing as well, works great with Death Dance anyway, and by the way, you can actually take approach velocity. I know it's really strange, but if we're going inspiration, I've shown you the other 2 here, but like swap out your boots for example, and it works with his Q, so he can chase people down and you just can't get away from him. Last up for top lane, we're going to look at Nasus, who is still one of the best when you get to lower ranks. He has a really bad lane phase, but lower down, you don't really get punished as hard for it. You can kind of focus on stacking, use a bit of your lifesteal, and then be a terror in teamfights, or you can split push, or you can actually even kill your lane opponent if they aren't very good. If you win your lane phase, or you're left alone and you can just stack and stuff, you're going to reach a point where you almost auto win the game, and it's really hard to shut down. Plus, as well, at lower ranks, people don't buy grievous wounds. Last up today, we're going to look at our support then, and the best one is going to be a bit different. Nautilus, in my opinion, is the best kill lane in the game right now. Can basically solo kill the enemy AD carry, definitely kill a support, and then doesn't take any damage in return. The Aftershock nerfs didn't really do too much to him because he builds armor and magic resist anyway, so he hooks, then he applies his passive root, then he ultimates, and that is so long where the enemy AD just cannot move. It's crowd control overkill really, but you also have your damage yourself, so like the combination is just insane. You only need a little bit of follow-up from your AD to get a kill. Kind of like a Blitzcrank and a Thresh like married together, I guess, and you can keep doing that over and over. It's not like you hard fall off in teamfights either with that much crowd control. If you don't really like playing tanks and stuff like that, like a kill lane, then Lux is really good to play at the moment. One of the best damage picks at the moment. Either Ludens for full ham or this build where we run like Athenes and Sensor and stuff. It still does a lot of damage, but it's more utility as well. You still have good poke either way you go, but it mostly works where you hit a bind and you follow it up with the rest of your damage and your AD jumps in as well. That is really when you're going to get your kills. That's kind of one of the downsides with Lux as well though. If you miss your bind, you really can't fight very easily at all. But at level 6 though, you can get so many kills with your AD. In teamfights, you're going to have your bind, you're going to have a slow, a shield, and tons of damage. So you're more than just a damage pick, but you're also more than just a support too, and that is why it works so well. Second runner-up, we're going to look at Thresh today. Sort of more of like a skillful version of Nautilus really, but because people are so good at him, he is still absolutely bonkers. I think Thresh can kind of like solo carry games better than most supports, honestly. Like you can have good hooks in lane to get kills, good flays to protect people like from ganks and stuff, and then good hooks in teamfights to lock them down, like lock down key targets or to start fights in the first place. Last up, I can't really mention supports right now without mentioning Sona, who is the highest win rate support at the moment and the best teamfight support. She outscales everybody. Once you reach mid game, once you reach level 11 on Sona, you are going to pop off and buff everybody around you. Athene's and Sensor is a really good combo, but seriously stacking damage on her is not that bad either, and probably one of the best supports to carry at low elo. But that for me is going to be what 9.9 looks like. Make sure you leave any below that you think I missed, but thank you for watching, and for now, I will leave you with robots.